After another fantastic weekend of college football, Week 11 is behind us, and the AP poll just dropped. We're going to have an instant reaction to it like we normally do every Sunday. Going to talk about some of the other games that we didn't instantly react to as well yesterday. You can find Alabama LSU. You can find Auburn Vandy. Going to get to some other big ones included, so make sure you're subbed. We're almost to 200,000. We'd love for you to be the 200,000 person that subs. As usual, David Cohn, former Michigan quarterback, my brother Crain, former Western State Colorado wide receiver. And guys, before we get to instant reactions, I want to give the people the top 25 according to the AP. Again, this is not the college football playoff rankings. This is the AP poll, but it's still very interesting to look at and see any crossover. So at 25, South Florida, 24, James Madison, 23, Pittsburgh, 22, Cincinnati, 21, Tennessee, 20, Virginia. That's the 25 through 20. Louisville at 19, Michigan 18, USC 17, Miami 16, Utah 15, Georgia Tech 14, Vanderbilt 13, BYU drops to 12, Oklahoma 11, Texas at 10, Notre Dame 9, Texas Tech 8, Oregon 7, Ole Miss goes up to 6, Georgia's at 5, Bama's at 4, and the top 3 has stayed the same. A&M at 3, Indiana at 2, Ohio State at 1, and out of all the votes, out of the 65 votes that were placed for the first place team, Ohio State got 55, Indiana got 6, and A&M got 4. David Cohn, first thing that jumps out to you, what do you think?
Man, the ACC has put themselves in a bind here, haven't they?
2 bad weekends for them.
Yeah, I mean, back-to-back bad weekends. And again, I mean, bad weekends in terms of like trying to get the most teams in the college football playoff. Again, there's a way to look at this and say, wait, I thought parity across a league was a good thing, and you got Cal beating Louisville. But look, at the end of the day, you can see the team starting to slip there. And then my second just immediate reaction is I just don't know who the group of 5 team is going to be anymore. I mean, what a win for Tulane over Memphis this past week. James Madison right there. I mean, I got James Madison's schedule pulled up. Obviously, they lost to Louisville on the road earlier in the year. That was week 2. They lost 28-14. They've won out since then, and now they got App State, Washington State, and at Coastal left. You see them right there at 24. I mean, do you guys think James Madison is going to be the automatic group of 5 team?
I mean, this is going to be one of the hardest ones to kind of splice through, because the big problem is a lot of these teams have played each other, and you got kind of this round robin situation going on. I mean, you look at 24 James Madison, 25 South Florida, but guys, the first 3 teams receiving votes right outside of it is Tulane at 83. Then you have Missouri. Then you have North Texas sitting there with 55 votes received to be ranked. So, having James Madison there, is it just – which team hasn't lost the most recent? Is that what's going to happen? Because, again, South Florida, Tulane, North Texas, a lot of these teams have played each other, and I don't know if we're going to get a clear, who it's going to be. So, I mean, at this point, I guess it's James Madison. I mean, Blaine, what do you think? Does anybody just –
I mean, they're going to be favored. I mean, if you watch Madison play, I thought it's kind of funny you brought it up kind of before the show started, is that even with Kirk Cignetti not there, Kirk Cignetti, his old teams are still finding ways to win games, and that's just an absolute – it's the truth. It's the truth. But if you go through it, I think James Madison, you can almost pin them in right now for being the group of 5, because they're going to be better than all 3 teams they play for the rest of the year. A couple of questions I already have is, what does it take for somebody to be the number 1 team? I think if you look at Texas A&M's resume, I think their resume is good enough to be the number 1 team in the country. And, I mean, you look at Texas Tech at 8. I mean, you can say what you want at BYU. What were they ranked 7th coming into to this week? Yeah. Another big win by Texas Tech. And you look at it, beat Iowa by 2 on the road, which is a quality win, but I would have thought Texas Tech would have jumped that. Tennessee with 3 losses, still sitting at 21, is amazing to me. I don't know how that keen is. Going to go back to the question. I mean, Notre Dame at 8. I mean, I get it. I mean, your 2 losses were good losses, but you really don't have a quality win on that schedule, and you can look at teams behind them with 2 losses that have a lot better wins. So, let's be honest, how much does the AP poll matter anymore that the college football playoff rankings are going to come out every Tuesday? It's a little bit different feel now. The weight isn't as heavy. But still, I don't think it's terrible, but I also don't think it's great.
Yeah, I kind of fall in that same camp. I mean, I don't see anything that's unbelievably egregious. To Blaine's point, was surprised that Texas Tech didn't move, especially in the manner they beat BYU. That game was you felt like was never in doubt. If you watched it, they handled them. But you look at the matchups we have coming up this weekend, and I'm sitting here looking at Alabama at 4 hosting number 11 Oklahoma. You've got Texas. I'm trying to remember, is that game at Texas or is it at Georgia? Yeah, I believe it's at Georgia.
It's at Georgia.
Yeah, you got Georgia hosting number 10 Texas. Can either one of those two teams win this game on the road? Because if they do, obviously that 10-2 mark's kind of that sweet spot. 3 losses, I don't think is going to get you in. And then just looking at what the ACC cone, to your point, has done to themselves. And again, yeah, you want parity, but it's almost like you want parity at the right time, right? And like now is the time where it's really kind of carving down and whittling down who is going to be in this playoff. And the first team you see from the ACC, unless I'm losing my mind, is Georgia Tech at 14, a team that still has to play Georgia at the end of the year. So we don't have any one-loss ACC teams now that Virginia, who dropped all the way to 20, is at Louisville, loses to Cal. Guys, it's looking like a one big bid league. It's looking like the Big 12 is going to be the one that gets 2. And what's going to be really fascinating is if something happens with Notre Dame, and I don't think it will, and they drop that third game, are we going to see the SEC get a 5th team in? Are we going to see the Big 10 possibly find a way to get 5 teams? That's what I'm kind of looking at, because this is the ACC eating itself alive is going to have a big ripple effect across everybody. So that's kind of my main thing. I don't think it was terrible. I don't think it was great. But again, you're not going to get a lot of change within that top 6, top 7 group right now.
Yeah, I mean, am I the only one who doesn't really care about the order of the top 3? I mean, the Buckeyes, Indiana, Texas A&M have all shown that they could be the number 1 team in the country. I think Alabama has established themselves to be the very first one-loss team. And like you said, we're going to get so many great matchups here in the championship weeks of football, which November is the championship month. So you talked about it. We're going to get Texas and Georgia. We're going to get Texas and Texas Tech. Really, Texas can throw a wrench in this whole thing, to be honest. We're going to get Alabama at Oklahoma, which Alabama gets a chance to spoil Oklahoma's college football playoff run the way that the Sooners did for Alabama a year ago in Norman. So I can't wait for that one. But yeah, I mean, you could put this in whatever order. It doesn't matter because all this stuff's going to work itself out, including if we get the sort of juggernaut matchups that we're headed for, which is an Indiana Buckeyes Big Ten championship or a Texas A&M Alabama SEC championship. What I would be more concerned with is what happens to some of those teams if they lose, right? So let's say Texas A&M were to lose to Alabama in the SEC championship game. Then you got Texas A&M and Georgia both with 1 loss right there, and both losses are to Alabama. Does Georgia jump Texas A&M? Or what if it's vice versa? What if Alabama loses to Texas A&M, gives them their 2nd loss, but they beat Georgia? Do you fall below that? That stuff really starts to matter, because now you're talking about the difference between having a bye week or possibly hosting in the first round.
Yeah, and one of the things we've talked about, and obviously now that we have college football playoff rankings that come out every Tuesday night, we're going to talk about this on Monday's show as well, is to your point, Coney, what if you're in the tournament, like let's just say if Alabama plays Texas A&M at this point, we know they're both in. What is the level of drop-off from that conference championship game? To me, I would say that, again, if Alabama were to play A&M in the SEC championship, and let's say Alabama's 11-1 and A&M's 12-0, and Alabama were to beat A&M, well, both teams are 12-1. Alabama has the head-to-head. You got to put A&M above Alabama, but it typically doesn't work out that clean. But Blaine, I want to go through this. I want to say right now what teams – do we basically, and again, nothing is set in stone yet, even the teams that are undefeated, but we've watched enough of this just with both of you guys. I want us to go through at least the top 10 right here and tell me, I'm going to say a team, and if you think yes, pencil them in for the college football playoff right now, say yes. If you don't think they're a guarantee, say no. Are y'all good with that?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Let's start at Ohio State at 1. Pretty easy, right?
Yes.
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 Yeah.
In Indiana now, I mean, they're at 10 wins.
Yes.
You're in. Texas A&M is at 9-0. They've got games, I believe, against Florida at home. They play the Citadel or Sanford, one of those two. Then they go to Texas. I think you can pencil them in.
Yep.
All right, now here's where it's going to get really, really interesting. Do you feel better right now? Who do you feel better about guaranteeing right now that they're in? Alabama at 8-1, who's 4, Georgia at 8-1, who's 5, or Ole Miss, who's at 9-1 at 6. And remember, the schedule does matter.
Alabama, because they don't have a conference loss. Right.
True.
So while all those teams have one loss, Alabama has the head-to-head over Georgia, who has the head-to-head over Ole Miss, but they'd have to drop 2 conference games, which they could. Look, they could lose to Oklahoma at home and then go lose the Iron Bowl in one of the greatest rivalries in the sport. They could do that for sure, but they'd have to lose 2 in order to not make the SEC championship game. And as long as you make that SEC championship game, win or lose, you're going to be in.
Yeah, so you just feel like I'd be willing to bet that the betting on favorite between those 3 to be a guarantee right now for the college football playoff, because Ole Miss is already at 9-1. They've already played that 10th game. Then they've got I don't think it's a cupcake next. I think it may be Arkansas and then the Egg Bowl, or is it South Carolina?
Florida.
It's Florida. Okay, so
I can double check right now. I'm pretty sure it's Florida, Mississippi State. Yeah, so
it's Florida at home and then at Mississippi State.
Mississippi State.
Yeah,
so Ole Miss really just got to go 1-1. You got to
True.
go 1-1, and you're guaranteed in there. All right, Oregon at 8-1. Schedule gets a little bit interesting in these last 3. Coney, what do you think?
I don't think they're a lock right this second. Now, I do think it was a very impressive win at Iowa. And Blaine, I love the guts by you to take that as one of your dog picks. I really wanted to do it, and Iowa lived up to the expectations. It's fascinating they could play Oregon that close without being able to really throw a forward pass is what's shocking to me. Really pushed them down to the wire. But like you said, Jake, they still got SC left, and they're going to have Washington left. Now, Washington's out of this thing, but they could spoil it for one of their greatest rivals. I don't think Oregon right now is an absolute lock by any means.
Yeah.
Would you put your money, Blaine? Would you put your money on Oregon or Notre Dame right now, guaranteed to make the playoff?
Oh, I mean Notre Dame.
I mean, which is just fascinating because Oregon's 8-1 and Notre Dame's 7-2.
I mean, you still have. You killed Navy this week, minus 27.5. I think was one of the easiest bets, which isn't going to be a walk in the park. But then you have Syracuse at home and at Stanford. I would be surprised if Notre Dame loses another football game, right? And if they keep looking the same way, they're going to get in. And back, the Texas A&M loss looks better and better. I mean, week in, week out. I mean, anyone doesn't. Notre Dame is such an interesting story, and I feel like we get to every year with Notre Dame. By the time we get to week 11, Notre Dame always finds their way to be in the conversation.
Well, and again, the reason I want to do this because it's crazy, like situationally, because right now Texas is at 10, Oklahoma's 11, and BYU is at 12. But I'd probably be willing to bet that BYU would be the favorite to make the college football playoff over both of those teams right now, because Texas does have to go to Georgia. Then they got to play A&M at the last game of the season. And then Oklahoma obviously goes to T-Town this weekend to play Alabama, and 3 losses gets you out. I'm fascinated to see how Big 12 teams with 2 losses are treated, because you look at Texas Tech, they're at 8 at 9-1. You got to feel pretty good about them, the way they're going to finish. But who would be that other team to come out of the Big 12? You got BYU 8-1 with not a walk in the park down the rest of the schedule. Utah sitting there at 7-2, but remember, BYU has the head-to-head over Utah. And then you've got Cincinnati down there at 7-2. That's interesting a little bit as well there in the Big 12. So like, I'm fascinated to see how they're going to treat some of these teams down the stretch. Like, does a 10-2 BYU get in over let's just say 9-3 Texas? I don't think so. You think so?
I would just surprised to see if
I don't think it'll come down to that.
You don't?
Yeah, I don't think it'll come down to that. I think the 5 teams that are really going to throw a wrench in this thing, Texas, like we already talked about. I mean, for you to win out and be in contention, that means you have road wins at Georgia, and you would be beating Texas A&M at home. Oklahoma as well. You're going to Alabama. You lost the head-to-head against Texas and Red River, but you have a win over Michigan. If you went out, you got 2. SC, like we just said, you're at 2 losses. You could have wins. You could have another win over Washington towards the end of the year. You have the head-to-head over Michigan. Michigan still has to play the Buckeyes. What if Michigan wins that one? And then, so those are the 4. And then the 5th team that could really put a wrench in this whole thing is Pitt, right? Because I mean, Pitt has what? They're 7-2. They haven't lost since their starting quarterback has been playing now. And listen to this 3-game stretch they finished with: Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, and Miami.
Yeah,
And that's going to be like the hardest stretch to finish.
Let me ask you this: does a 10-2 Oregon get in?
Oh yeah, I think a 10-2
so.
Oregon gets
Would
in.
you take a
I think
10-2 Oregon over a 10-2 Vanderbilt?
Would I take a 10-2 Oregon over a 10-2 Vanderbilt?
Well, actually, hold on. Oregon has one loss as we sit here.
Yeah. So let's say.
So who's the other loss?
Say they lose
To what?
Say they USC, but lose to Washington on the road.
See, now that's interesting because now you would have that's the way that the Big Ten could get the fourth team in. Like USC is going to have to win out, or Michigan's going to have to win out.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you guys have heard of this bearskin hoodie, right, David? I know, you wear yours all the time. Blaine too. Just want to show this bad boy out here. You're always winning, right? If you're wearing this, this one's definitely getting in the college football playoff of hoodies, and it's the number 1 seed. And the smart people are locking in that winter gear now because right now is the best time to prep for the coming winter. For some of you guys, it's already here. This week in Nashville, it's going to be like Antarctica. Cold.
Oh, it's so cold.
Yeah, it's cold right now when you walk outside. Bearskin's also running a 60% off deal right now, but only if you get that hoodie early, and it's built like a tank. 340 GSM micro fleece, 10 pockets with a clean, rugged fit that looks awesome. Plus, it zips right into the heavy storm rain jacket to become 100% waterproof when you need it. So when it turns cold, wet, and windy, you're not scrambling in the last minute. We know some of you guys are going to be – I'm watching the snow come down in these NFL games right now, whether you're tailgate, whether you're walking outside, whether you're going to get your mail, all right, and it's freezing. You need to make sure you're locked in with the bearskin hoodie. So do yourself a favor. Text the word Crain, that's CRAIN, to 36912 to lock in that 60% off. Text Crain to 36912. They'll send you a link straight to your phone so you can check it out later if you're busy right now. Don't wait until you're freezing to realize your hoodie sucks. Get a bearskin now while it's 60% off. And remember, free U.S. shipping, fast delivery, and you've locked in that winter gear already. It truly is a win-win with bearskin.
Wore it this morning to church, boys.
Yeah, look, it's cold. It's cold. Like it's cold right now. It's cold. But just anything else in this AP top 25. I was so interested to see how far BYU fell. They dropped to 12, so it's not crazy, but there's still so much that's going to get parsed out. And what a huge weekend we have coming up.
Just a little surprised how high they are on Tennessee.
I
don't understand that.
I don't know. I mean, it makes zero sense. I
Well,
mean, they
even
can
with
give
even with the 3 losses, if they had some awesome wins in there, you could say, okay, well, they have great wins. I don't know. They're a little high on them. I don't think it's going to end up mattering though. Again, the Miami Notre Dame thing just gets more and more interesting. Miami won yesterday. Again, they don't look like a team right now that necessarily is just going to win out with ease, but they could. And if they have 2 losses and Notre Dame has 2 losses and they have the head-to-head, I mean, we can talk about it for weeks and weeks and weeks, but at some point the committee's going to have to make a decision whether to honor that victory or not.
Yeah, and also I do want to change this. I said Texas A&M plays Florida, and then obviously you got your last 2. I think it's Samford maybe, and then Texas on the road. It's actually South Carolina, which is crazy because this weekend, I just want to hit a couple of these quick matchups before we talk about some of these periphery games that we have this weekend. Texas A&M can clinch a college football playoff berth on their home field against South Carolina this weekend. It's going to get you to 10-0, 10 wins in the SEC, regardless whether you make the SEC championship or not, gets you in. We got Notre Dame at Pittsburgh. You got Oklahoma at Alabama. You have Texas at Georgia. So I mean, just that right there is going to be massive. I can't wait. I think TCU BYU can end up being interesting. I know TCU lost to Iowa State, but a pretty intriguing slate here.
Great,
guys.
pick,
I want to. Yes,
Thank
great
you.
pick, David. Hit both your dogs, right?
Both my dogs. Yes.
Yeah. How about
yeah. Kentucky just. DJ Lagway got benched.
Bro, DJ Lagway and Garrett Nussmeyer got benched on the same day. Imagine
Wow.
if I told you that would happen before the season. Like
This has been the wildest college football season I've ever seen in my life.
It really is, and it's incredibly hard to bet. Like I can't bet ACC games anymore. I can't do it.
Oh, I can't bet. In general, I can't bet. After what Ohio
what happened
State
to Blaine yesterday?
I've
tough.
never been so screwed in one year. It's back-to-back weekends for me now. I had the over in the Georgia-Florida game. I watched Gunnar Stockton take a knee on the one. At Ohio State minus 28.5. You put your backups in with 4 minutes with 3 personal foul penalties.
And Purdue fumbled and got it right back.
The first touchdown Purdue scores is with 55 seconds left to go in the game to beat the cover. BI, we need an investigation.
Where was Chauncey Billups? That's what everybody's asking.
Yeah, Cash.
All right. Again, we had our instant reaction to Auburn and Vanderbilt, which again has made the rounds. Alabama and LSU as well. So we have talked about those games. Just I want to start out. Let's go ahead with Texas A&M just going on the road and beating Missouri's ass to death. Now look, for a while there, this game was only 14-0 at halftime. It was 7-0 after the first quarter. They were kind of tennis volleying back and forth offensively. Then A&M started hitting some of those big plays, and just we knew that Zollers, it's asking him a lot. We knew it was going to be tough for them. You had two guys, Jamal Roberts and Ahmad Hardy, both rushed for over 100 yards. I mean, Jamal Roberts, 17 carries for 110 and a touchdown. Ahmad Hardy, 13 carries, 109 and a touchdown. But it's like Zoolander is the same look. Like you had no other look. Zollers 7-22 for 77 yards. Really could never get into a rhythm. And it just waterfalled. Once Missouri's defense realized, like, we're really struggling to score. Like, we're probably not going to score a lot of points in this game. It was like, all right, well, there's no way we can come back. And that's how you get, give up 24 points in the second half to A&M. You got to give a ton of credit to A&M. The teams they handle business. It's the most A&M shit I've ever seen in my life. Like it is just crazy to watch this team go in and handle business. Marcel Reed, 20-29, Cone, 221, 2 touchdowns. Reuben Owens had that huge run, but ended up with 102 yards, 2 touchdowns on 13 carries, and just spreading the ball around. Concepcion with 84 yards and a touch. Craver got his. Bethel Roman had a touchdown. A&M just handling business, man.
Blaine always says something about I think it's the 2019 LSU team with all the star power they had. And he says, well, Randy Moss's kid was your least productive player. Isn't that what you say, Blaine?
Yeah.
I'm watching this Texas A&M offense, and Emmitt Smith's son is like your least productive player.
It's a good situation.
No, Marcel Reed, 2 things stood out to me. On time and accuracy, week after week after week, on time and accurate. And even yesterday, without pushing the football downfield, he's able to be on time and accurate with the football. And on the defensive side, Cassius Howe is a name I feel like we got to talk about for that A&M defense, because he's an absolute problem on the defensive line. And this team just continues to cruise, man.
Blaine, watching the growth of Marcel Reed. Now, look, a lot of that has to do with he has guys that he can spit the now screen out to that can hit it from 80. I mean, it's a beautiful situation where you don't have to push the ball too far down the field, yet you can still make explosive plays. And in the run game as well, that was the thing that stood out to me the most. I mean, again, we saw Reuben Owens' big run. I mean, hell, Dalton Brooks touched the ball one time and went 48 yards. Marcel still ended up with 30 yards on 5 carries, which is a really good average. This A&M team can hit home runs, and the defense finds ways to get you in disadvantageous situations so Cassius Howe and those guys can go get it. But name me a quarterback. This is why all offseason I said, why is nobody talking about Marcel Reed? I get talking about DJ Lagway. I understand it. The Arch Manning hype was so overblown and insane, but people are just acting like Marcel Reed was just some orphan they found that stood in for 1 year and didn't come in and do what he did last year at points. And now you're seeing him put it all together.
Well, look, the Arch Manning thing is looking a little bit better now with football. Early, it was tough, right? Early, it was tough. I get it, but you look at this A&M team. I mean, you said it. I mean, some people are growers, some people are showers, and some people are both. And that's what A&M is.
I've never heard that term for football.
Congratulations. A&M is both of those, and they're a complete team. And look, I said on X, look, A&M might be the best team in the country, and I had an Ohio State fan. His name's Woody or whatever it was. I mean, I don't know if you bookmarked the tweets or back from tweets all the way back to August and found I've said that about 3 teams. And
that's because that can happen.
I didn't know I had a stalker. Why don't you go touch some grass, kid? But I will say this, like the big thing that stands out to me about A&M, you have all the pieces on offense. You have Marcel Reed. You have 2 legitimate backs. Casey Concepcion is an NFL player. Craver's there. The defense, right? The defense is what about to me. They're smart. They're fast. They're disciplined. And they tackle well in space. And they can quarterback without bringing pressure or bringing extra guys. And when you can do this, helps you out on every single level. And A&M getting better and better. And the big thing about Marcel Reed, he had all the tools, but I wanted to see him grow in the passing game, and he's done that. He doesn't look sped up. Everything looks on time, and he looks – so right now, A&M, if they're not the best team in the country, I would say they are the most dangerous team in the country.
Yeah, and again, I think when you look at that top three, you can have a reasonable take of why that team is number one in the country. Hell, I think you can make an argument for Alabama too, if we're being honest. So A&M again gets to that ninth win, can clinch a playoff berth at home this weekend against a South Carolina team that's been reeling. Still got to go out there and handle business, but that's who this version of A&M is, and I think that's without a doubt, the Mike Elko effect. I do want to move on, Coney, to the big game in the Big 12, the one that Game Day was at. And look, I watched this whole game. It feels like it kind of came back down to earth a little bit for BYU offensively. Now, defensively, I thought, they lost 29-7. You scored that late touchdown. You got shut out for pretty much the whole game. I didn't think BYU's defense was bad really at all in this game. I mean, Baron Morton goes 17-32, but with only 219 yards and a touchdown. Dickey, he was the one that hurt you the most, right? 121 carries or yards. God, if 121 carries, he'd be tired as hell today. 121 yards on 23 carries and a touchdown. You end up giving up 150 rushing yards. So it wasn't like you gave up a crazy ton of yards. And you kept starting with bad field position, and the offense kept putting you in that position. Mm-hmm. Is this BYU team kind of, how do you feel about them right now before we give Texas Tech their flowers?
Well, one of the things we've said about BYU week after week is they do everything pretty well, right? Nothing spectacular, but they do the little things well, and they didn't do that in this game. Actually, they held up, to your point, they held up pretty well offensively and defensively in some critical areas, forced a lot of field goals, but you come out, you have a terrible punt, then you have a muffed punt return with Parker Kingston, who I've seen take multiple to the house, a missed field goal, multiple special teams mistakes right there put you behind the 8-ball, and that sort of was uncharacteristic with BYU. On the Texas Tech side of things, now I just want to talk about this kid, Jacob Rodriguez. I had known he had played quarterback before, but I didn't realize he had never played linebacker, and the instincts that he brings to the game, it's so much fun to watch him play football. 3 interceptions on the year, had one against BYU, 7 forced fumbles, and then I find out his wife is a Black Hawk helicopter pilot. Hey, give that kid all his flowers, man.
Yeah, isn't that just how you eventually become Captain America? It's like
just president.
You played quarterback, but now you're a great linebacker. Your wife flies Black Hawk helicopters, and
and a solid mustache too.
Yeah, he's been a dog. I mean, watching these guys play, I think that's the difference in this Texas Tech team is up front and on the defensive side. But in the BYU's case, and everybody knows this, I don't think there's one BYU fan out there that would disagree with this. If BYU can't run the ball, they're cooked on offense. You're cooked.
You're cooked.
Yeah, and again, it's not Bears not like the fact that Bear Bachmeier has gotten them to this point with everything that happened with Red Stuff is one of the best coaching jobs. Kalani Sitake, it's been one of the best coaching jobs. But you can't end up with 67 rush yards on 27 carries. That's just not going to work. Your leading rusher is averaging 3.5 per carry, but he only ends up with 35 yards on 10 carries. And it's just you can't sit back there and throw them. They tried with all the pre-snap motions, the play actions, the orbits, all that thing to try and help him out. And they still had some chances. It's just that this team has been overachieving, and it just kind of ran into a wall, came back down to earth a little bit.
Yeah, I just feel like you set up as many ways as you want to if you're BYU, but I think Bears is not good enough through the air right now to beat teams like Texas Tech. And the thing with Texas, a lot of people don't understand. Look, I get it. They have all the pieces on offense. Baron Morton, you have Dickey, you have legitimate receivers, Virgil and Eakin, and these guys understand. But that front seven from Texas Tech is hell now.
Yeah, they ain't playing around.
If you watch this football game, they got a little bit of that ant in them, right? That python. If they get a hold of you, right, to death, right? It is tough. Texas Tech between the tackles right now, it's almost like you have to get outside to beat them. And obviously, I know it's a little bit different if you know the team that you're playing is going to be one-dimensional, but you can go through Texas Tech this season. And one thing that's always stood out to me that will make teams different in big moments and big games against really good teams, front seven is legitimate. I am 100%.
Well, they spent $7 million on that front, right?
You're damn right.
No, they paid for it, and guess what? It was what the Carfax came back clean.
Yeah.
Clean, buddy. And it's working out. So a big win for Texas Tech. We're obviously going to keep monitoring what's going on with BYU because that's still only their first loss. And now Texas Tech. So BYU has the tiebreaker over Utah. Texas Tech has the tiebreaker over Utah. And BYU or excuse me, Texas Tech now has the tiebreaker over BYU, so they can pretty much walk into this thing, right? Like it just handle business in your
their losses to Arizona State.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Who's out of the running. All right, let's move to the Big Ten for these last two, unless you guys got something else on that. Oregon survives on the road at Iowa in a game. I mean, if you just turned on this game, you saw it. It was like snowing or sleeting or like, mixed rain, whatever you want to call it. This just looked like the most Iowa-ass game ever. Like, and it's like perfectly setting up for them. Oregon, and of course, the first score is a safety. That'd have been a great bet. I probably would have taken it. Yeah, Oregon went up a jump shot from inside the perimeter in the first quarter, and then it was a waterfall of scoring in the second, guys. A waterfall of scoring. Oregon scores 10, Iowa scores 7, and then you get 3 in the third, and then you get 12 in the fourth. Iowa does try and come back there at the end. I thought Iowa fought valiantly. I mean, you're out of it now, obviously, with that third loss. And I know when you look at the numbers, and it's crazy to say this, Mark Gronowski kind of outnumbered Dante Moore, but Dante Moore made a couple throws in this game.
The
last one that is just like, bro's got so much. He is oozing talent. But again, just like Indiana did against this Iowa team at Iowa, and just like they did against Penn State, and this is where I'm different from the other people that are from the SEC, where they say, well, you shouldn't have lost that close to that team. Yet on the other hand, say, oh, well, this SEC team barely won, but that's right, it's the SEC. No. You went and played a ranked team in Iowa, and you beat them on the road. This is a quality win, I think, for Oregon, and one that you really needed and had to have when you look at the schedule down the stretch to keep yourself in it. I mean, Coney, just off the rip, I like Oregon's physicality. I think they matched them.
Well, not only a quality win, but I think a win that will serve them well in the postseason. Right. And that's the same thing I was saying about Indiana with Penn State. I mean, Iowa has established themselves now as a solid and a competent team that probably won't make the college football playoff or certainly, win any games when they get there. But not only did Oregon beat a competent Iowa team, beat them on the road, beat them coming from behind, and to your point, beat them in the elements, which this is one of the things when we were talking about Oregon and USC and Washington and UCLA coming to the Big Ten, when you have to travel multiple time zones over to Midwest teams who play like Iowa is that quintessential Midwest team. You know what you're going to get on the defensive side of the ball. How ugly can we possibly make this game? And if it rains and sleets and hails, that sets up so well for us. Well, it did all of that, and Oregon still overcame that. I think this is the type of win that they can lean on if they face some adversity in the postseason.
And Blaine, what's crazy is that when you look, Oregon, and it's not like Iowa's kicking game was terrible. I mean, Drew Stevens hit hit a 58-yard field goal, and made all his extra points, and Reese Dakin had 3 punts for 120 yards. You average 40 there, one inside the 20, with a long of 48. But dude, anytime you got a guy named Atticus Sappington stepping up there, I don't care whether it's kicking, I don't care whether it's stepping in the box in baseball or on the tee box in golf. If your name is Atticus Sappington, I think you're going to butter the hell out of it. Yeah. That's what I think.
Yeah, it's that name reminds me of back in the day where you would send your best warrior to fight their best warrior, and you wouldn't have to have a war, and whoever won just ended up winning. Someone bring in Atticus. Atticus!
Yeah,
right.
Like that's what I'm saying. He's an old lawyer during like civil rights times or whatever.
Iowa, I don't know how it gets any. This just had Iowa win written all over it.
The stars were aligning, man.
Turned the game on. It was sleeting. I was like, yes, this is perfect for Iowa. And before we did, I said Iowa would have to score 20 points. You'd have to find a way to score 20 points. If Iowa scored 20 points, I think they win this game. They're full, right. I think it's a great win for Oregon. It's go beat an Iowa team. You're not just gonna roll your ball out there and beat Iowa. You have to beat Iowa, and that's what they did. So it sucks for Iowa. It was close. Damn it, I thought they had it, but good win for Dan Lanning. Stop wearing cotton in rain, man. It's never fun, and I know it sucks afterwards.
I mean, at the end of the day, whatever's working. Like if we're winning games, if we got to go, look, if I got to go out there and wear a cotton swab to win at Iowa and walk around in the rain, I'll do that.
Another thing for Oregon, 3 offensive starters out before the game. I think another wide receiver went down in the game. Again, just about facing adversity in a win like that. I do have a special teams question because, I mean, the Iowa long snapper,
Dude.
I mean, like, man, it just, and I
Well,
understand
the
it was
first one
raining.
should have gone over his head too.
The fact that punter caught that to even get the ball off and kick it to the 50 was incredible. The second, obviously, is the one that I want to talk to you about, though, when he batted it out of the end zone for the safety. Would they call illegal batting or illegal kicking
you're not.
on
So
that?
you're not allowed to bat the ball at any point in time with your hand.
Okay, but you can kick it out.
You can kick it.
Okay.
And again, at that point, though, you know, you're just trying to get the safety if that's what you're doing. So it's not like even if you bat the ball, they're going to give the other team a touchdown. Like it's just going to be like holding in the end zone or whatever. It's going to be a safety, which you're trying to do anyway. So whether it's with your hand or with your foot, like it doesn't matter.
They wouldn't call batting if you kicked it?
No, if you kicked it out of the back of the end zone.
Oh, okay.
What's crazy is I've seen times where they've thrown flags, and I've seen times where they haven't. To be honest with you,
a regular fumble, okay, like a regular fumble, not in the end zone. Say we're on the 40 going in, and the offense fumbled, and one of the offensive players kicks the ball out of bounds. That's
a penalty? Yeah, that's a penalty.
Batting. Okay.
Yeah, that's a penalty. You can't do that. But again, like it's all achieving the same thing. You're still getting 2 points. The difference is now, though, you can decide to take the penalty on the kickoff, which after a safety, you are already backed up kicking off. You are not kicking off at the normal place that you would. So if you were to put a penalty on top of being backed up, now you're kicking off even further. So, like, just take the safety the normal way if you're going to do that. But we used to teach our guys, hey, if that happens, you kick that ball out of the back of the end zone. Don't bend down to pick it up. You use your feet anyway. You probably eat with your feet. So, like,
pedidexterity.
Yeah, for pedidexterity. I've been trying to fix our World Cup soccer problems for years. They just don't want to listen. And now we have the tariffs. We got the money. So I don't understand why they still don't want to, but that's a story for another day. But I tell you, Dave, that Iowa punter making that catch on the first bad snap was the second best catch I saw in the Big Ten.
Man.
The best one was obviously Cooper's to win the game for Indiana. And to me, it is so much more impressive to see somebody go up, make a catch like that, and have the body control to get a foot down. That is more impressive than really any one-handed catch to me.
Man.
Like it's just,
yeah.
I don't know how these guys, they're witches.
Guys
like
are so good now.
witch.
These guys are so good. Let's just really break down what all transpired there. First off, hats off to Penn State, particularly in the second half, on the defensive side of the ball and on the offensive side of the ball. That's the Penn State that I thought we would get throughout this season, right? Running the football, stopping the run, and forcing Indiana to come from behind with, what was it, a minute left in the game? And not only did Indiana face that adversity and go score, but even the adversity on that drive. That drive, I was on the edge of my seat and I didn't even have a dog in the fight. Couldn't care less really who wins. I'm just watching as a fan. I'm on the edge of my seat. That drive started with a sack, right? And then Mendoza. That drive started with a sack.
With no timeouts, David.
No timeouts. Started with a sack. Big play he hits. Then misses the seam in the slot, wide open, hits another big play. Then almost throws an interception at the goal line, then throws the game-winning touchdown. Even the adversity on that single drive for them to come from behind just tells me everything that I need to know about Kirk Cignetti and this Indiana team. And I'll tell you what, if they find themselves in the Big Ten championship game, man, that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean,
did y'all question at all what Penn State was doing on defense that last drive? They were bringing.
Yeah, well, look, part of me is
bringing pressure.
Well, part of me is like, look, man, we're 3-5, 0-5 in the Big Ten. None of us are going to be here next year, most likely. So you can, would I have done it that way, even in that situation? No, because I know you're throwing it with no timeouts.
You're up 4.
Yeah, like I get it. But there's part of me like, look, man, sometimes you just, you got to pull the clip off the grenade and throw that thing in the foxhole, man.
Well, they almost got home. They almost got home on that last one. And they almost got home on the one before that, which is what I was talking about, where that ball's almost intercepted. So clearly they were just going to come after him guns blazing, especially when they were like, hey, he's kind of holding the ball.
Well, and like you made Indiana make that play.
Yes.
Like, you got to, as a defensive guy, obviously you want to stop them. But if you're talking about, all right, Indiana's got to make an incredible play, like an incredible play in a huge moment, and the ball placement I thought was where it had to be for where the guys were and the pressure he was under. And then that catch, just the ability to weeble wobble your legs back to the inside leg and get it down. In real time, I didn't think he got a foot down.
I didn't either. I thought he got pushed out.
But now, what do you say, Blaine? I want to throw this one to you. What do you say to people like, well, man, Penn State's ass this year. Like Indiana survives, beats them by 3. You know, is Indiana? Are they really a candidate to be number 1? Does it make you feel any less about Indiana?
Well, no. I mean, what was Ohio State winning at halftime? 17-10. I mean, remember, this is the same.
Not
Penn
even
State
that. I think it was like 17-14.
This is Penn State team that's winning the national championship. Like, I know you lost Drew Aller. I didn't think Drew Aller was that good in the first place. You still have talent all over the place on both sides of the ball. And I know the season hasn't gone what you thought it was going to. Your head coach, you got fired, but still there's talent on the team. I still think you have 2 of the best backs in the country, right? You saw that with Singleton. Like, it's not a great win, but like for people saying win, I just don't think you know football.
Yeah. No, it's that, and in that environment still, you know, shout out to the Penn State fans for the ones that showed up and were loud and made that place what it was. But before we get out of here, guys, any other games you want to kind of hit up?
I just want to give a quick shout out to Luke Fickell and the boys. You
Dude,
know,
man.
I thought he was going to get fired.
Jed, what are we doing? What are we doing on offense?
He ended up staying, right? And as bad as this year has been for them, I mean, good for the Badgers fans out there. Shout out Big Cat. Good for him. This is a needed and good win for Wisconsin, so they can have a really good Sunday today.
Yeah, and look, Georgia beat Mississippi State's ass from the word jump. You know, that 41-21, that game was over at half, and then they just poured it on. Georgia continues to look better and better. But I mean, Coney, outside of that, Notre Dame hammered Navy, Wake Forest beat Virginia.
Nice win for Wake over Virginia. That was kind of what we were talking about with the ACC. On Friday night, USC handling business against Northwestern, and like we said, Tulane over Memphis was a great win for them on the road. And Thursday night, Georgia Southern taking care of App State in the deeper than hate rivalry.
Yeah, and look, dude, what's happened to Miami? I know they end up winning that game 38-10, but it's just like
they look like a team. They look like a team that can play really well when everything's going great. Yeah. You know, when everything's going great, they can win.
Yeah, and then Cal beating Louisville, Brian Harsin doing it to him. Just
you see that little whip route on the last play for the touchdown?
Yeah, well, you know that's the play that basically got Brian Harsin fired. He lost an overtime game on that play, like almost to the date, and got fired the next day. Then he runs it to beat Louisville. It just shows you the football gods are fickle mistresses.
Yeah, I've heard Brian Harsin's name already too much in this show, so I'm going to go vomit.
Brian Harsin.
Clean it up.
How about Vanderbilt? Another great win.
Yeah, no, we had a full breakdown of that yesterday. If you haven't seen it, you don't want to miss. And look, you can love it, you can hate it, just the truth. That's what I think. And unapologetically. But all right, we appreciate you guys. Make sure you stay locked in. Got a big show for you tomorrow. Make sure you subscribe to almost to 200K. Let's get it going. Humongous weekend in college football. You know where to sit.